All right, 7th grade. So to warm us up this morning, we are going to basically trace over some of our lines that we created for our design within our color wheels. We're gonna trace over them in chisel tip Sharpie, okay? So I'm going to just share with you on this piece of scrap paper, and hopefully if I remember, I'll put some of this out on your all's table, just for you to kind of scribble off the tips and then practice using it. But with the chisel tip Sharpie, it has a flat edge here, okay? So see how it kind of has, there we go, edge that's angled and then like a little point here. If you use it along that flat edge, it makes a thick line. If you use it just on the point right there at the top, it creates a very thin line, okay? So if I use it, let me see if I can zoom y'all in here. There we go, okay. Just dragging this right along that flat edge, okay? It's creating that thicker line, like so. If I use it just on the tip, it creates a thinner line, okay? Now my advice to you is to use it along the flat tip, because that means it's gonna make your life easier when we are painting. You can stay inside the lines a little bit easier, okay? So scribble off the tip. A lot of you all are gonna have chisel tip Sharpies that have been clogged by paint or just usage, so just take a moment and kind of scribble them off on a scrap piece of paper before you use it, okay? And if you have one that's losing ink, just go over it, go over your lines a couple times, because I have a feeling at the end of this unit we're gonna be throwing a lot of these away. Okay, so here's what we've got. So this is, let me unzoom you. There we go. All right, so this is actually my piece. I am working on the template because this is my template, but you're working on your color wheel that you designed a couple blocks ago. Now, right now I just have one piece of the pie that is designed, and so what I'm going to do is, using my ruler, shape tracers, and a chisel tip Sharpie, I am going to trace over those lines using the tools and then also the broad side of the chisel tip Sharpie, okay? I'm gonna have you guys work on a placemat, most likely. Okay, so a piece of notebook paper. Right now I'm just gonna use a piece of construction paper I don't care about, okay? All right, so I'm gonna line stuff up. I'm gonna use the broad side of the Sharpie to trace over these lines to craft them well. Craftsmanship is going to be a huge part of your score or your evaluation for this project, all right? So I'm using that broad side. I'm holding this ruler down because I use the ruler for that section. And because I use the ruler in here, I'm going to do more of the same. Okay, so I'm gonna line up my ruler, hold it down, use the broad side of the Sharpie. Okay, now if you don't have a Sharpie that has a whole lot of juice like I do, so mine has a lot of ink, you may have to trace over your lines just a couple times. Something kind of like that. Boom, okay? So I've got something that looks like that. There we go, okay? And get as far as you can with tracing over your design work in that chisel tip Sharpie using the broad side. I will stop you all at some point and then we will dive into the painting. What will then happen after we've painted, when we come back the next class period and your painted wedge is completely dry, what we will most likely do is go over the Sharpie lines again to make sure the craftsmanship is good. Never trace over anything with Sharpie if it is wet or even just the smallest bit wet. It will clog the tip of these. That's how a lot of these have died a very painful death. So just make sure that you're not tracing over anything that is even remotely wet paint or whatever, okay? So use the broad side of that chisel tip, use your ruler and shape tracers if you did this. If you freehanded it, that's fine. You can still freehand, just use the thicker part of the Sharpie, the broad side, to trace over your pencil lines and get as far as you can. At some point I will stop you all and we'll begin the painting process.